Welcome to the Always for the New Age podcast, where we weave the threads of traditional living into the tapestry of modern day life. I'm your host, Hannah, and I'm a naturopath, herbalist, and passionate plant lover here to discuss topics such as daily ritual, intentional living, witchcraft, herbal astrology, plus sharing interviews with inspiring guests, and so much more. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a podcast review if you enjoy my content. I wish to honour and express my deepest gratitude to the traditional custodians of the unceded land on which I live and record, the Wandjirabara people. I want to acknowledge their elders, past, present and emerging, and their continued connection to the land, sea and community. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hello everybody and welcome back to this week's episode of the Always for the New Age podcast. My name is Hannah, I'm your host, and today I'm welcoming to the studio Natasha Skehan. So hi Natasha. Hi. Natasha is a mama of 3 beautiful children. She has a background in social work and she has a great passion for helping women to create wholesome motherhood experiences. So I'm so excited to chat today, Natasha, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for having me.
It's so wonderful. We've talked for so long online and got to know each other a little bit. And so I think this feels really fitting to have you on to speak to our wonderful community about your background, your passion for women's work, and also for helping to create beautiful childhoods as well through that women's work, which I think is really unique. So I wanted to just start out by you introducing yourself a little bit and sharing a bit about you and your lovely family with our listeners so they can get to know you as well.
Absolutely. So, yes, my name is Natasha. I have 3 children. Xavier is turning 12 in June, Sophia is turning 4 in June, and Lily is 16 months. It's been such a beautiful dynamic to have that age gap in like the learning curves along the way and what they all learn from one another. My husband is a soil scientist, so we've always said I'm the artist and he's the scientist, and we kind of, again, there's so much we learn from one another. We're living here on a farm in a little town called Flat. Loving it here and just really learning to live seasonally and getting a lot from removing as much disconnection from the natural cycles of life as possible. My background is definitely, I've always worked with children in some capacity. Studied social work. I've mostly worked in schools as a teacher's aide. I was a face painter at festivals. I ran workshops for teens to just really nurture self-confidence and self-worth. Probably my favourite things was the singing lessons and building confidence in that way. That's just it just opened up a lot of opportunity for creative expression and all of the confidence that comes with that. I'm a singer and songwriter. Currently, most of my songwriting is within our home and our home learning and children's songs that just kind of happens spontaneously. That's
also lovely. And I have been enjoying, I think you've been sharing some songs on your Instagram recently.
Yes.
And you know, I'm so interested in kind of integrating a little bit of like a Waldorf approach with my son as well. And I've been like, where do you get the cool songs? You know, I hear some people share a few, but there's not that many out there. So I've been enjoying that personally. Thank you.
Oh, good. It's been so interesting because I've only just realized lately what we're doing at home would be very much considered Steiner and the Waldorf. And that's been wonderful because it's opened up this world of resources to me that I was like, I don't need to make my own, like the resources that I've been thinking of, like, it's already here available. Yeah, I found that some of the songs are actually very similar to what the children and I have been writing and singing. So it's beautiful, and that focus on pretty much feeling connected to your surroundings and what's happening in the natural world around you, and really integrating learning and creative expression through that, inspired by nature, inspired by what the children are interested in. And even the other day we had the preschool group here, and they found a turtle on the way, so we released it together in the dam here.
Oh,
Started talking about turtles, learning about turtles, and just it's always like nature leads the way, and you just
yeah.
get to kind of follow.
And that's so handy. Take some of the work out of it for you. When nature just, gives us those gifts and that little bit of guidance. But I also am amazed how much kids actually resonate with music and sound and songs and rhythms, because I kind of I live in a really interesting space in my mind where I'm both very skeptical and analytical, and
Yeah.
then completely woo and completely
Yes.
artistic and the other end
Yeah.
of the scale. And I'm always kind of battling with myself at times, trying to figure out what actually sits well with me and why that is, and also being more open to possibilities and different ways of doing things. And so when people were talking about songs for children, I was like, oh, I'm not really that into music myself, so I guess I don't really understand how that
It helps.
it helps.
Yeah.
But just doing a simple little hand washing song with him has
Yes.
helped him so much, and now he knows exactly the
Yes.
process so quickly.
Yes. Helps with
And as soon as
even
we
the
start singing
memory
that, yeah, he knows exactly what's happening. He knows how to
association.
wipe his
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
So they do absorb so much, and it just seems to just settle well with them, which is beautiful. So
Yeah.
it's a great gift that you have to offer your family and hopefully others. keep sharing the
Yeah.
songs. I'm not mad about that.
Yes.
And so what
And there is
about,
the science around that too, around music and
yes.
the way that it does literally help their brain remember things. And I always love when even the biggest kids at school in Xavier's age, it's like the teacher, they kind of stop singing and they stop doing that, but there's still that the benefits to just bringing song in. I mean, we know how much music moves us as adults. There is such a physical, emotional connection for children. Yeah, it's just such a perfect thing to integrate into learning, and that association, like you said, with the hand washing. And the one that I shared today was about packing up. We've been trying to make packing up our things not like a chore, not like a time to pack up, and then don't want to, and we're trying to shift that, which has been interesting because I do have the preteen and then the toddler, and he's relearning alongside of me to change our mindset around what we see as chores and jobs, and seeing things as it can just be just as just the same as getting out the activity, packing away. Why does it seem like such a bummer? And to
Yes.
take pride in our jobs, and it's such an honor for him. It's such a privilege to go and feed animals of an afternoon. And the song that we've been singing for packing up is we're pretending that we're picking berries, and we're carrying around a basket
Aw.
and putting in the toys in the basket, pretending we're picking berries, and the song to go along with that. And that might not work every day or all the time, but it's just brought joy into the things that usually can be a battle sometimes.
And a little bit of whimsy. I think a little bit of whimsy goes a long way with all
Yes.
of us.
Yeah.
We get so serious as adults, but I think,
Yes.
we lose that magic and joy in everyday life. And I do want to talk about
Yes.
that a little bit later in this episode about, helping to bring kind of glimmers of joy and a bit more of the whimsy and creativity
Yes.
into kind of the daily grind, as people refer to it. But for now, I'd love you, because you've touched on your kids' ages. You have quite a wide range of ages between your kids. And I'd love to know a little bit about your family and kind of your general experiences in motherhood so far as well, because you've got a bit more experience under your belt than I do.
Yeah. The thing that is on my heart lately is how, well, I really believe that we parent alongside of our inner child. And I think that is one of the reasons why mothering is both one of the most beautiful things we will ever do and at times the most difficult things we'll ever do. Mm-hmm. Because well, for me and for a lot of women I have spoken to and heard their stories, it's all of the ways that we were or were not loved or are not supported really comes up into, right into the forefront of your experience. And, obviously you're adding in the tiredness, the hormone changes, like it can be really confronting for people, and especially depending on, our experiences as a child or as during our life. It's kind of like this opportunity that just comes up, like, children can just really mirror everything that is within you. Beautiful, hurtful, unresolved, like all the things. And it can be, a beautiful opportunity to nurture that inner child and to nurture healing within ourselves. And just a really light example of that is like how often I have seen, when an adult's drawing with a child and they'll say, "Oh, I'm not a good drawer," and, when along the way did we say, okay, artwork is to be judged and to be graded? Because when you watch children do their art, it's, gosh, they love it. They love the process. They want to hang it on the fridge regardless of, if it's lines, if it was,
I was going to say lines. What lines?
Lines. And we don't want to imprint that on them, that I'm not a good drawer. We want to learn from them and to say, yeah, this feels nice. This experience and this process feels lovely to create, and to want to show it off in such a, in a beautiful way. I want to hang my work on the fridge. And that being a very light example, but to see the stories we have about ourselves. I'm not a good drawer. I'm not, or a lot of other things that I see as, children absorbing and taking in the beliefs about their selves or their bodies by listening to adults. And it's not just, be mindful not to say that in front of children so they don't take on board body image things, or it's also an opportunity to say, oh yeah, I really have a wound here that believes I'm not worthy because of, or that I see myself in this way. And it's an opportunity to give love to that. When did I first start believing that? Was there a moment that I remember? And to go back and literally just give that inner child a hug and love. And that's been on my heart lately, is really growing alongside, nurturing my inner child alongside of my children. And that sometimes is hard. Sometimes it's beautiful. But I always see it as a powerful opportunity. And even if I don't have the energy in that moment, after a terrible sleep or whatever, it's like, I'll just take that. I don't have the extra energy right now to be dealing with that wound or with, what's presenting itself. I'm going to put that aside, pop it in the journal or whatever for a rainy day. What is something I do have the capacity and energy for right now? Can I just make myself a warm drink and sit out in the sunshine? What's something I do have the space for now that is still giving me something warm and wholesome? That's been on my heart lately. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. And I really resonate with that, and I definitely I guess the way that I've come across it in my own life is kind of like those self check-in moments where, and this is even before having my son, just, those check-in moments where, I've started to unpack some of that stuff and examine, kind of ask myself the question, is it even mine? Like, is this
Mm,
even mine? Or is this something I've taken on from somebody else who said
yes.
those words about themselves? And maybe I don't even actually believe it about myself, but
Yes.
it's just so ingrained in me from
Yeah.
such a young
Just like the
age that,
songs do, it just, and
mm,
it comes into the mind as sound. Yeah, we
yeah.
don't need
And,
to hold on to all of it.
yeah. And I think they talk about how negative things are so much quicker to stick than
Mm,
positive things, and that's because it's a self-protective mechanism. But
mm,
that journey of starting to unpack everything is so important, especially in a motherhood journey where you're kind of a steward for these young beings, right? You
yes.
are guiding them, and that's kind of a contract you guys
Yeah.
have signed together. And so it's definitely important to start that work. And
Mm,
it's beautiful that you're doing that with your children and that they have such a good example of that. And I also wanted to ask you about your relationship with the word wholesome, because it seems
mm,
like it's a word that really, as you said, is on your heart at the moment. So
yeah.
why the word wholesome? I'm just curious.
I think because it really goes across all areas of life that I want to be, I want to create the space and the energy to make a wholesome meal every night, or that it's in the freezer. So then,
Mm,
that's feeding into my energy, which feeds into the family's energy. I really believe that the how nourished we are as a mother really sets the tone of the household. So for me having wholesome meals, me having wholesome moments means that I'm creating wholesome moments for my children, which means, all of those moments add up to a wholesome childhood. Of course, not perfect. It's never about being perfect. We're human, we're not
yeah.
perfect. And it's never about creating a peaceful day, but I'm trying to make all the moments peaceful. That's also just not, children's brains. Literally, that's just not possible. But it's about, you
Mm.
know, um, wholesome for me is just what I want to be, what I want to receive, what I want to create. Um, and, one day when I am an old woman, maybe a grandmother, if I get, the privilege to be, I want to look back and say, like, wholesome. That was,
Yeah.
I gave, I gave myself as much as I could to have a wholesome experience, and that allowed my children to have a wholesome life. That's my, dream, and I want people to be able to come over and feel that my home feels wholesome, that, my
Yeah.
garden feels wholesome, that our songs feel like
Yeah.
it just feels like it can be a
It's
word that is used for a lot of things, and that's what I want to to experience and to create.
and you're kind of referring, it's more of cultivating a feeling. It's like you're trying to
Absolutely.
build on a feeling. And
Like the warm drink that you
it's,
hold, yeah, feels
yeah.
wholesome. It's warm, the steam's coming off it, it tastes good. It's like a
Yeah.
moment of, a breath. And even if the moment before was like chaos and the kids were screaming and it was a big tantrum and I didn't, show up the way that I wanted to, but the next moment
Mm.
can be, repair and wholesome. And we've all like, now we're co-regulating. Now we're like, we're settling into the sunshine, the warm drink, it's
Hmm.
not about perfect for me. It's, about the wholesome feeling. Mm.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And it's so interesting because my mum's generation, I know once somebody walked into my mum's home and said it felt wholesome. And she was
Ah,
kind of was super kind of offended.
oh,
And it's so funny because to her, it was like, oh, you think there's, my home isn't perfect enough. But I think that
Oh, I
that's
see.
the beautiful, like,
Yeah.
place of deprogramming,
Yes.
like on a societal level, where that's now a word
Yeah.
that
We're
people
not
really,
performing. Yeah.
yeah,
I think that, and
absolutely.
that's
And
I've stopped putting away my folding pile on my lounge when people
mm,
come over, because I was doing this, well, very much my past, life as a performance and holding myself as a performance to other people. And the more that I think I've developed and worked on, self-love and self-worth, and, here I am. And
yeah.
if you don't like that, then that's so fine. You're not the one to be in my space,
Mm,
and we're just not meant to be. That's fine. But I realized I was still holding on to that in my home, in my household,
yeah.
like, the quick clean before people come over, which is, it's not that that's a bad thing, to have a refresh of the home, to feel lovely.
It feels
But
good. Yeah.
definitely,
A little
yeah,
refresh feels good. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Like fresh sheets,
But
it's always
yeah,
good.
so good. And gosh, we're so privileged to have those things, and
Mm,
to be able to be worried about my folding pile and my dishes. Those things are such a privilege. And yeah, I just don't hide it anymore, because I wouldn't want you, Hannah, to quickly put away my folding before she comes over, make the house look unlived.
uh-huh.
I want to set that option for my friends and
Mm,
for people in my life, that, I'll sit with you and do the
mm,
folding with you while we chat. You don't need to hide it. It's just,
totally.
your house doesn't need to be
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
And the amazing thing about that is it has such a ripple effect, because, sure, okay, then we're like leaning into the concept of accepting help, which
Yes. Oh
is
my gosh. Yeah.
also,
So
this is
many
all kind
layers.
of conditioning.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah. And it's
mm.
peeling back the layers of that
Letting
onion,
people in. It's uncomfortable sometimes.
totally.
Yeah. And
But I
I've,
think it's
I've,
so necessary.
yes, I've really seen this. Um, Recently, I created a big um, a messenger chat called Nurture Mama, and it was about delivering meals to women in our town that have had, in
Mm,
postpartum, that have had a baby. And what it's kind of been sitting there, and, you know, nothing's happening, because I've realized there's so many more layers. First of all, a lot
mm,
of people, it's more uncomfortable to let people in than to, take the load off and to help with the possible struggles. Sometimes it's harder to allow people into your space. It's easier to struggle. And I think this is where our culture is so different to others. We are this, you know, before people come over, I want it to be tidy, or and this is, I literally, I sent a message to my sister-in-law who's expecting soon, very exciting, and I just said, oh, something,
oh,
if you could please just, you know, before you have baby, if you could please just know, I I promise I will not offer anything I don't want to. So
mm-hmm.
anything I'm offering, I want to do. So take off that. Don't take on any of the guilt. But if there's something you actually feel uncomfortable with me doing, that's fine. But don't let it be because, oh yeah, the house is a mess, or you're a mess. Like, I will accept you and love you in all of what you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, and sometimes the support you want is from certain people, the people that you feel safe around, and you don't want it from a random, the chat that I set up with ladies dropping off meals. Sometimes you just don't want it from random people. You want it from the people you feel safe around, which is why
Mm.
I'm so passionate about, if you are someone that, um, that is trusted with someone's children, that is, trusted in their house, welcomed in their house, then, someone postpartum, then just go and be there, either do their dishes, hang out with them, or offer to hold the baby while they have a
Mm-hmm.
shower. Like if you have the privilege of being that person, that's such an important thing in our culture. We need to build that community for postpartum. And that is like the biggest thing. If you have looked after and nourished and nurtured mothers, of course we're going to have looked after and nourished children. You know, we don't need to
Yes.
take the children and do that for them. Mothers just need to feel supported. That is so important, to feel
Yeah.
supported and be supported. But that looks so different to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And so, like, I think you mentioned your oldest is 12. Is that
Mm-hmm.
right?
Turning
So you
12,
got
yeah.
12 years. Yeah, 12 years under your belt.
Mm.
And so I know, like, through our conversations, you've really honed some kind of tools and techniques that you're
Mm-hmm.
starting to share with your circles to help people and mothers specifically to, I
Mm.
guess, create a bit more ease and space within their mothering journey. And so one of them that you mentioned was something called 30 Seconds More. And I would love it if you would explain that a little and share it with our audience and how they can work with that
Mm.
technique in their own lives.
Yeah, so this I created this for myself when sleep deprivation was a huge like cloud heaviness over my life and myself. And it's really perfect for times where things might, you might feel slightly disconnected or, tired, fast paced, like when things feel really full or busy. And it's literally just whatever you're doing to really immerse yourself for another moment more before you finish doing what you're doing. So, an example, especially in motherhood, we're usually multitasking. So,
Mm-hmm.
an example could be if you're playing with your children, you're doing an activity together, and you're like, oh gosh, I've got to go and put on a load of washing or something. Before you go and do that, really bring yourself into your body, bring yourself into the moment, into your surroundings, and immerse in what you're doing for 30 seconds, 1 minute more. Really, that eye contact, that joy in what you're doing. And then, you can say, okay, would you like to come and push the buttons on the washing machine together with me? And this this can be in every, in workouts, often are very disrupted with little children around. For one more moment before you stop, really feel the muscles in your body, really, give it all that you've got. And this, I think, just helps bring you back into your body and back into your surroundings, especially when, that is on the days that feels tricky. It just, at the end of the day, it feels like you've got these moments that had, real true presence to them. And I think it's, the little moments that obviously add up to the day and make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely seems like that. When you are especially sleep deprived, for example, which I
Mm.
can understand because I'm
Yes.
still in that space.
Yeah.
You know, being
It's hard.
moments can kind of blend in with each other,
Yeah.
and
A blur.
there's no lines, there's no distinction
Mm.
in parenthood
Mm-hmm.
between, there's no boundaries, right? Like you
Mm.
are, especially as a mother, you're there to co-regulate with your baby
Mm.
and with your children, and you all rely on each other and
Mm.
you give each other feedback constantly. And so there's
Mm.
never that clear, cool, mum's off, I'm no longer mum right now, or cool, like I'm doing this activity and no one's
Yeah.
allowed to interrupt
Even though
me
we have so many roles, yeah. It's all
unless
in
you have
one. Yeah.
someone, there removing the child for a
Mm-hmm.
walk or something, there's no distinction. And even then, your
Mm.
mind is on a million different things. So I
Yes.
do really love that idea of creating space for that presence, those little pockets of presence throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
where you can kind of isolate from everything else going on, really focus and give
Yes.
your all to something for just a very small
Even
moment in
right now for
time.
30 seconds. Yeah. Yes.
And then be able to move on with your day, and also
Mm.
just know that that's okay. and you gave yourself those 30 seconds, and then I can,
Yes.
I'm going to just accept that and then go
Yeah.
and do the washing or whatever it is.
Yes.
Make a
And of
sandwich
course,
or
yes. And I think, of course it's important to have time to ourselves, if you want to meditate, if you want to do something on your own, of course that's important, but integrating those little moments, like not just leaving them for, okay, I'll have some peace and quiet when, or I've just been really in, my facial cleanser in my shower. Like I don't have a face routine anymore where it's the 3 lined up and it's of a nighttime. It's in the shower. But gosh, when I'm just cleansing my face, in the shower, it's probably only 30 seconds, but I make sure I really zone into it. Give myself a massage, lymphatic massage while I'm in the shower, integrating these moments. And instead of sitting on a mat and meditating for 30 minutes, an hour, it's in these little moments, like in the of a morning, that seeing the sun come in through the windows for 30 seconds, for a minute, a moment then to breathe and to check in, and I don't think we to wait to meditate, or wait to do a self massage. It can just be blended into what you're already doing in the day.
Yeah, as a collective, I think kind of modern society is very into the idea of giving ourselves what's the word for it, I suppose. It's never the right time, right? Like it's got to be the right time. It's got to be.
I'll wait till later. Yeah.
The parameters, like really, we're setting boundaries, but like unhealthy boundaries with ourselves that don't even make sense. Like we're doing it because on some level, at some point, somebody told us that we wait for a special occasion to wear that dress, or we wait. Something is a treat, right? Like a food is a treat. It's like a special, and there's nothing wrong with having, like, obviously we're talking about taking those kind of sacred moments. I love my cacao, like that's a treat for me, and I don't. I still use that word, but my association with that word has changed.
It's not naughty. Yeah. It's not a naughty treat.
Yeah, we're not doing things because we're trying to
feel
deprive
guilty
ourselves.
About.
It's
so many
it's
stories
just knowing that like life is fluid, right? Like everything is fluid, and it's okay to not wait for everything, because ultimately life is quite short. And wear the dress, and wear the pretty dress. Even though you're parenting, wear the white. So many mums say, I can't wear white.
Oh, yeah.
No shade if you don't wear white, but I just, I have a natural soak for it. It's fine. If it gets
I actually love that recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, truly, so many people.
Seriously, I love. Yeah.
I used to think, because even before, I've worked in clothing stores and fashion retail, and so many people would be like, oh, just wait till you're a mum. You don't wear the white. And I still wear my white.
I wear the white. It's pretty stained. I've been wearing
this beautiful dress, and it has a cacao stain down the
yes,
and I've
you
not
can nearly
even
wear an apron most of the day. Yeah.
I just go, I'll wear it out to the shops. I don't care. Yeah. But I feel good in the dress, and it's comfy. Yeah. And it's a beautiful brand, and I'm going to wear the dress, even though I haven't had the moment to get the stain out. So,
yes. And this is, we also spoke about the 1% thing. This is where this very much comes into it. And, I've heard it being used in different contexts, but for me, it's like, if you don't have the time or the energy to give all that you want to give to something, just 1%. And for me, even that, putting on earrings every day, I love earrings. It takes 1 second. I can do it half asleep. It uplifts just how I feel. It brings me joy. 1% of energy, of an action, of an outfit. And it changes. And I think when we say, oh, I'm going to, I want to redo that whole room and it'll be really nice. It's like, do you have the energy output for that right now? No, well, don't leave that as another pressure and, like something kind of to be done, to look at, that feels like it's adding pressure to your day. You could literally just take some, do one thing in that room that is working towards that. But over time, it kind of is like a stable way to place your energy 1% of that room, or like putting one thing away into the next room where it goes, instead of a whole spring clean or a whole wardrobe redo. It's like, what's just one thing that matches my time and energy level right now, that is moving in the direction that I want it to be, without it being this big thing that I want to do. And for me, it's the dress, it's the earrings, it's what feels good. And if they get stained, or if or if the room that I want done is not done for a month or so, it's getting there, it's happening. There's little things that is feeling nicer and nicer as time goes by.
And those little micro movements, they do make a difference. It's just that
huge.
All of this is really just redefining our relationship with certain words, and areas of our lives where it's all just deprogramming, right? Like, we love a Marie Kondo moment. I love a Marie Kondo moment. I love like pulling everything out of a room and then starting fresh.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
Do I have the time to do that with a child?
Right now, no.
With a toddler who's pulling apart everything that I pull out of that room
at night? No. Yes.
No,
yeah, that's right.
But I saw this concept online, which is similar to what you're talking about, but you're obviously what you're talking about with the 1%. So that's a tool of yours, is do that 1%. Just focus on moving the needle by 1%. But doing like a what is it, like a 10-minute clean. Like, I've seen people do like a 15-minute shakedown, and they just do as much as they can in 15 minutes. They put on a cool playlist, and then they're like, cool, okay,
that's
done.
it for now.
I'm happy with
it's
that.
Not finished. That's fine.
Yeah.
So
that 1%, and being okay with that, learning to accept that as something that is going to bring joy and going to, again, make difference in your life just with time, like just over time.
Over time, and, in a more stable energy output way. Yeah.
I think that's really helpful. And again, we have this programming in our head around what our day should look like and what we should achieve, and what, all those shoulds, right? Should is such a dangerous word, because it's just expectations we're putting on ourselves. But have we thought about whether they're reasonable expectations?
Yes.
Whether it even
where
makes
they
sense
stem
for our
from,
lives,
our relationship to it. Yeah.
But being able to kind of release the shoulds and come into what makes sense and feels good in your home, in your body, because all of this experience of life should be helping to cultivate a feeling of peace, I think, is, what we can strive for. And that doesn't mean quietness, right? Like, motherhood is not quiet. It's not, it's not chill, but just that inner peace of within ourselves being satisfied and happy with, what we're putting out into the world every day. Like that,
I love that.
I think, is what that's really helping, and it's going to help our listeners to do as well, to release those expectations on themselves and start to bring in a way of being productive, so to speak, that feels aligned and feels joyful and feels like good for their family and good for their mental health. Yeah.
And it's a little bit ironic, because the less pressure you put on yourself and the more that you move from, like a regulated, honoring your body and where you're at now, which is, changes so much in motherhood. What you're capable of now is so different to tomorrow or whatever. And the less pressure you put on yourself and the more you listen to that as much as you can, the more you actually are capable of, because you don't have these, you should, and you won't, and like once shame is released, once the pressure on yourself and the stories where we place our self-worth, once all of that can just quieten, there's so much more space to just be and to do, and it kind of comes with so much more flow, instead of like, the more we show up as our own friend, the more life just comes in so much more of a flow and ease. And it's ironic, because you actually become capable of doing more. Not that should be the the goal
I
there,
think
but
we all know that moment where like we're rushing around and we're not present and we're just in panic mode.
yeah.
That's the moment you catch yourself on a doorknob. Like that's the
Yeah.
moment you kick your toe.
Yeah.
Like it's not helping us. It's so
Yes.
hindering us. And
Yes.
that's what that makes me think of. Like when we're creating space for ourselves and slowing down, we actually have much
Have,
greater
yeah, the
capacity.
capacity. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And I mean, coming off those stress hormones is no easy feat, but moving from a place of just feeling like you have space and feeling strong in a, in a not fight or flight way, like feeling strong in a wholesome way
Yeah, no, I
is
love
it
that.
does, yeah, it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah.
And to be
And I
ticking off
love
a list, yeah, in from that way of doing things over a stress hormones, because definitely I do and have done both, is
mm,
yeah, is much more sustainable.
definitely. I totally agree with you there. And I'd
Mm,
love you to speak a little bit on kind of I've mentioned a couple times, but that release and bringing in a bit of gratitude within motherhood and parenthood. I think it's a loaded
mm,
question. I think the concept is
yeah,
loaded for people
yep,
about how to have gratitude as a parent and how to actually find pleasure in the mundane activities that we all
yeah,
participate in, like washing the
yeah,
dishes or doing the
yeah.
laundry or feeding people's, bodies. And like I'd love you to speak from your experience on what that means to you, and like do you have any advice on how to cultivate that for people
Mm,
in their own lives and in their homes and their families?
yeah, something that I think is one of the reasons why I am naturally immensely grateful is my attention to detail. And that is the steam off your warm drink and the sun coming through your children's hair and the sparkle in their eyes when they're telling you something that they love, and the little details of autumn right now, and the change in the leaves and the colors and the way that they drift from the tree into the ground, and gosh, looking at the kids' eyes when they're looking at things like that attention to detail, I think would probably be considered, I think people call it mindfulness or presence, but they can just seem very vague of words if if this doesn't naturally come to you. But if you really look for that attention to detail, I think gratitude would have to come naturally, because the natural world around us is just breathtaking and stunning. And the way that can be let into our homes, the sunshine through our windows, and the flowers in the vase, and the the sounds, that like the laughing in the background, and you do get caught up in what you're busy doing, and it can be overwhelming. You're trying to cook dinner quickly, but then you step back and you look at the bigger picture as well. We're here on this earth. There's so much that has had to align for us to be here now. Like even, from a, you know, eh, just the weather on the earth, was not always provided the opportunity for life to be here, and the time of your conception. Everything is like, this tiny chance in this
mm,
huge universe that has allowed us to be here right now. And the children that we have, all of it is just like this, quite literally very unlikely, and yet we're here, and it's quite the miracle. um so yeah, when you're getting caught up, like, I got to cook dinner, and they're crying because they're hungry, it's like, whoa, yeah, this isn't a time in space that I will never have again. And even
mm,
if it's stressful right now, look at what I have. Like, I'm about to feed a child that one day will be an adult, that, you are giving life force to through food. And you can just, take a breath, let the shoulders drop down. And again, that attention to detail and slash bigger picture and attention to detail. And I think
it's
gratitude
both.
can naturally, it's both.
It's
and
how
gratitude,
does that work? But
yeah,
it does.
It does. To not take the moments for granted, and yeah, when you're putting the plate on the table, well done, Mum. Far out. Like, I just made this meal. I'm the one that's nurturing these children. Again, being our own friend. Like, just give yourself a bit of like, well done, Mum. Well done, myself.
A little pat on the
Gratitude
back
towards yourself, to all that you're doing, all the little things that you're doing. Be thankful to yourself. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And absolutely, like the 1% that you were just talking about applies on a grander scale as well. Like the little things that you're already doing as a mum or as a care provider of any sort through the day, like these tiny little kind of seemingly boring or seemingly mundane things, they are like tiny little 1% that all add up to an entire day, an entire week, an entire month, entire year.
Yes, raising a human and running a household, that is huge. The next generation of people and the way that they see the world, the way that they treat the world and the people around them, that is huge. Yeah.
No, I definitely love that attention to detail and zooming out. I kind of call it zooming
and seeing
out.
the bigger picture.
Like
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'd sometimes literally like to picture myself up in the sky looking down from space, and I'm like, wow, I'm so tiny, yet I'm so a part of everything.
Yeah.
And
of course I'm going to wear the dress.
Yeah.
Of course I'm going to
Totally. But your ability to see like the magic in those small moments, definitely I try to do the same. And I think also that's something for those who it doesn't come naturally to, which is some people, like that's a skill you can hone. That's something that you can work on. However strategy you can come up with, to just, even if it's scheduled moments throughout the day, and that works for you to go, cool, okay, it's the beginning of a new hour. I'm going to take 30 seconds, that 30 seconds to just really drop in and notice everything around me. That age old, what can I smell? What can I see? And how could I reframe, that cup of tea into something that is pleasurable, enjoyable, and like a special magic moment for myself.
Yes.
Yeah. And so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about seasonal living, which I think definitely ties in with that gratitude. And that's something, I actually filmed a reel about this and never posted it. But, I think that seasonal living was so foundational to my own natural development of a gratitude practice. Because I think once you start to have that observational practice and notice how incredible and how like miraculous the world around us actually is, and how nature moves to its own rhythms, moves at its own pace, we're able to start to emulate that in our homes and start to appreciate more, what is going on around us. We can see more beauty, we can see things outside of ourselves, because we can get tunnel visions as adults, right? We can go, okay, I'm in survival mode. And this is what I need to do. And this is the next thing I need to do. Instead of being able to kind of go, okay, is it life or death? Do I need to speed? Like, am I actually gonna, like, is me being 5 minutes late, is there anything I can change about that? Or can I just choose to release the idea that, okay, I'm going to be late. I'm just going to be late. And
might as
the
well.
world won't end.
Yes.
Generally speaking. Obviously, there's nuance to all of this that we're talking about. And, sometimes there are critical moments that you need to get to hospital.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's urgent. But,
everything needs context. Yes.
If we're going to be like 2 minutes late for our grocery pickup window. Do we need to cause stress for ourselves about that? Probably not. So that, I think, has all for me come back to seasonal living and seasonal
Mm-hmm.
observation. And so how does that work in with your life and your family's rhythms, and how does
Yeah.
that, I guess, impact your experience of gratitude?
Yeah. Even something as small as, you know, not like having an abundance of strawberries when they're there in our garden. And then when they're not, they're not. And then you get it, or like the sweet potatoes, you eat so many sweet potatoes while they're there, and then you get sick of them, and then they're not there until the next season, and then you love them again. It's exciting, and it's a slow process. They stay under the soil, and then they shoot up all of their leaves, and that they're starting to grow, and then eventually, they're big enough to eat. And it's like this appreciation of planting them way back, and that excited to have them again because you haven't eaten them for that time. And even just that, and the slow process of planting the seed, nothing's happening, all of a sudden there is. If you don't
Mm.
water it enough or you water it too much, nothing will happen. Try again. And a, a lot of moments of gratitude happen for me and the girls, especially because the girls are at home with me. Well, Sophia, particularly my 3-year-old. A lot of wonder and gratitude happens in the garden, just by what we plant, what we grow, what we harvest, and then what doesn't work, what doesn't make it. It's yeah, definitely sets this tone that quite literally you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And but sometimes, even putting hard work into a project, sometimes it always doesn't go to plan.
Mm.
Sometimes it fails. Sometimes, um, that I really have loved, honing in more on the seasonal living in that way. In let's not buy. I mean, sometimes we'll get strawberries from the shops, of course, yes, but like really, just we have to wait. Let's be resourceful. Let's just wait until
Mm-hmm.
um, and when it's winter, we go out and we cut firewood the other day. That's such an exciting
Mm.
seasonal thing to do together as a family. And then I buy marshmallows and we roast it in the fire. And then when, the last fire of the season, then that's it. There's no more. And actually my Xavier and I, my 12-year-old and I wrote a song about roasting marshmallows. That's pretty funny. And we thought, oh, let's actually make a seasonal folder that we get out each season. So in the winter, we've got our song that we sing. It's to the tune of Radioactive, actually. It's very funny. And have the recipes that go along with that season, and what we're planting, what we're harvesting, recipes to go with that, the songs and traditions we have to go with that season. And then when it's finished, we pop it away and
Mm.
get out the next one. So it just kind of feels like little things are being made special. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's my seasonal love at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think that is wonderful. And that word wonder, like that you use,
Mm,
wonder, absolutely, that's such a big part of it. It's
mm.
kind of akin to the word whimsy. Like, how can we incorporate
Yeah,
wonder into our lives again? It's
yeah.
something that so many of us have forgotten even exists. Like, but then you go and
Mm.
stand on a mountaintop one day and you look out and then you remember,
Whoa, the
wow,
awe.
oh,
Yeah.
there are so many amazing,
Mm,
incredible like things to experience, and the world that we live in is just phenomenal. It's mind-blowingly
yeah.
gorgeous. And yeah, I love that. And something that I've talked about, actually, you'd probably really enjoy our episodes with Holly. And she keeps a binder as well for like
Oh,
celebrations.
cool. Yeah.
Um, but that's because she's coming at it more from like a type A like
Yeah.
organizational perspective, but it's coming from the same place
Yeah.
too, where it creates ease,
Yeah.
and a more consistency with being able to celebrate and enjoy these things, because we have little reminders that are outside. They're not tabs living in our brain. We're able to put them
Yes. Oh
into a
my gosh.
binder,
Yeah.
and
Sticky
come back
notepads
to
have changed my
them.
life.
Yeah, it's external brain. We need external
Oh my
brains so that
gosh.
we're closing those tabs, right?
Yeah.
And have more space in our minds. And then what a special opportunity where you are actually going and diving into these with your kids, and you guys are all looking at them together by the sounds of it, and getting to rediscover every season the things that you loved to do last year and the year before that, and
Yes.
things that they can look forward to through autumn and
Yes.
winter and spring and summer.
Yes.
And that's just so exciting and magical, especially from a kid's perspective. But
Yeah.
also from our inner child perspective, because
Oh
who
yeah.
doesn't want to look
And
forward
even
to
just
a
that,
roasted marshmallow?
the letting go. Yeah. Well, we've got these cute little leaf babies that only come out in autumn, and they are so sweet, and they're on our window, and the kids, Sophia loves hers, but she knows that they go away once autumn's finished. And it's quite nice because it's kind of the same reason why I don't keep all of the toys out. It's like, instead of just it being there all the time, and unless they're open ended, like those magnetic tiles are just out all of the time because they create so many different things.
They're the ride or die toys. Yep.
Yeah, they can be made into so many different things, but other than that, it feels special to be able to say, "Oh, I'll miss you, goodbye," but yeah, I'll see you next season. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also something that I touched on with Holly in an episode when we were talking about a similar concept was removing that instant gratification culture from our sphere, and helping, that really, I think, helps gratitude as well, is just that, teaching kids that we don't have everything all the time and exactly when we want it, but that's okay.
Yes.
That's actually like it can be a beautiful, exciting experience when we wait and work for something.
Yes, work for and I think what we're really seeing with Xavier at the moment with his he's getting into some wood, handicrafts and woodwork. It's, you have this vision in your mind, you have this goal you want to achieve. It doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen in two, and it depends how much time and effort you put into it as to when you get the result. But it's just as much about the process as the end result, and how rewarding it is when you get the finished product that you had in your mind. And I think, creating for children kind of long projects like that, obviously depending on the age, is really important and wonderful for that. And we've just started weaving with Sophia, so she's turning 4. It's another really great activity because it does take time, and it kind of feels like you're weaving in the moments that you get a chance to do it together. You're like weaving in these little memories. It does take a while to finish. It's the fine motor skills and all of that, but eventually you have this end product that didn't just. Because sometimes it is nice to just do a painting and it's finished in 30 seconds and it feels good to just create and you're done. But it is, I think, important for children to be working on a longer project, hands-on project that, you can hang up at the end and remember all the little moments that you've put into it.
And ourselves as well. I've had so many clients over the years, and that question comes up of, what do you do for fun? Like, what do you do without without an end goal in mind? Like, what are you allowing your mind and body to experience without needing to accomplish something too, to just enjoy the process? Can you dance in the kitchen? Can you, do a painting without needing it to look exactly like a picture you found online too? Releasing that expectation on ourselves as adults. Slightly different for kids, but similar. And again, coming back to our inner child, how can we nurture and nourish ourselves in those same ways, and teach ourselves those lessons from a place of love and respect for ourselves that maybe we didn't. Not all of us had that growing up. So I think
absolutely
that's beautiful for both parties, for everyone. And I'd love to know, within that seasonal living kind of lens, what are some of your favorite rituals or celebrations you guys do through the year as a family, or as just yourself?
Myself, definitely a really important moment of my mornings is before I start cooking everyone breakfast, myself breakfast. I just go and stand in the morning sun, even if it's just for a moment. That's actually a was thinking today how consistent I am with that, because how important it is to me. It's just this moment of the, either it's before the sun's coming up or just as it's coming up, or just to wake up and it's like this, it feels like there's the two worlds, sleep and awake, and you kind of like, there's this moment where they both kind of bridge. And that's really important for me. And there's all the science behind looking at the sunrise and the sunset, and of course it's got all the goodness about it, but it just feels nice. As a family, traditions, I think probably more the cutting firewood, and we take we take a picnic out, and it's really exciting to light that first fire, and then it's really nice when you when you pack up when you clean the fireplace for the last time, and other than that, I think it is just about the little moments more, the measuring the kids and ourselves in the doorway, penciling in how much we've grown, and birthdays the kids' birthdays are my favorite to celebrate. I'm talking about the handicrafts and the slow projects for myself. I have been making Sophia a birthday crown, and I've been embroidering for the first time.
Oh wow.
And and it's beautiful, and it's interesting because some people do say, how do you have the time? But it's funny because someone wouldn't usually get asked that if they were talking about a Netflix series they were watching or a sport that they're playing. And
totally.
And it's like, it's what you can create the space for, depending on what your interests, each to their own. But celebrating the kids' birthdays is my favorite, and I really do put a lot of thought and effort into it, because it feels like, I'm celebrating their life, but also to me, I created, or even if we want to foster one day, we want to foster children, and so even without the aspect of creating a child, but you're the one that is raising this life, that's nurturing this life, and their birthdays is also a memory of how and when I gave birth. So it feels like such an important and wonderful thing for me to really enjoy celebrating. That they're my favorites.
Oh, that's really lovely. I am very much also in that space where I just see like so many beautiful birthday celebrations, through Instagram, and people that I know online. And it just brings me so much joy and inspires me to want to celebrate in those ways. Like handicrafts are so beautiful, the felt, and just that lights up for my inner child, because I go, oh my goodness, I just want to get my hands on some of that and make really pretty things, and things for the sake of joy, not for the sake of productivity.
Or not because someone else is doing it. That looks so different for everyone. Like you said, it sparked something within you. But if someone was listening and thinking, oh, again, not to place that I should. It's just like, what's your version of of that lights up your interest, that lights up your curiosity, and adapting that to what fits into your life and yourself.
Yeah, maybe that's painting for some, woodwork for others. Maybe it's creating a scavenger hunt outside for some. And some of us are into felt. I've discovered I had no idea how into felt I would become.
Oh my gosh, me
it's
too.
apparently something I really love. And so that's been bringing me joy. But there's so many different ways to experience that and have fun and just make it your own. And again, releasing that kind of need to keep up, compete, accomplish, do, and just like check in with yourself and see what it sparks in you. You're right, like something that sparks for you, personally. And this is still kind of on the gratitude train, but I did want to know, what are some like little ways, you've already touched on a few, but like, you know, bringing those glimmers of joy. So what are some of the,
Mm-hmm.
like, if people are finding it hard to, you know,
Mm.
if they're deep in the motherhood space and they
Mm-hmm.
are maybe not thriving at the moment and they
Mm.
feel like it's hard to, you know, like, what even is a gratitude practice right now?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can't even get it 2 hours of consecutive sleep. Like,
Yes.
what am I,
Yes.
like, what's
Yeah.
happening? I don't even know where I am. You know, what are
Yeah.
some really little ways that you think people could start to
Cultivate.
spark and, you know, create that
Mm.
joy in just like every, like washing the dishes or,
Yeah.
you know, cleaning the fridge or whatever it is where
Yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
struggling to get through those things, with
Yes.
any sort of positivity? Like, what are those
Mm.
glimmers of joy that some
Yeah.
people could bring in?
Well, just for if anyone was listening to that and that is where you're at, I just, my heart is so with you because it is not easy. When all of the things maybe that you once did find that were easy, all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden become so hard. And the depths of what is considered postpartum depression, or just all of the things that did once bring you joy no longer does, or this dark cloud heaviness of the hormones and the tiredness and the change in responsibilities and time, all of that can be so heavy and hard. And um, you know if that is you, someone listening to this, and that is where you're at, absolutely first know that you're not alone, because so many people do think that they're alone in that experience. There would be someone at the, oh my gosh, the play group, the mothers group, whatever, there'll be someone else 100% there that is going through the same thing. And that is actually one of the most important things that I think is the most important step, is that connection and community support. We were never meant to do it alone. And it's just, of course, we're capable, we can, but we shouldn't have to. And we were never built to do it on our own. And we only usually need, like one person that we feel safe and comfortable around, to just help lighten that heaviness. And so that is definitely a big thing, is to feel supported, and to show up as your friend, your own friend, as much as you can. Being gentle with ourselves is difficult. Mum guilt is such a widely spoken about thing. It's really important that we talk about it, but it is sad usually how harsh so many mothers are on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, showing up as your friend as much as you can, like taking a moment to be proud of the fact that you're here right now, and that motherhood can be so difficult, but yet, you're there, you're doing it, you're there, you're doing it. So, like, something that as well, when you said, in the moments of washing the dishes and so on, I should look into it before I speak about it. But I know that I think there's a Japanese meditation practice that, like the raking of the sand. Like you used to sit, like in a Japanese gardens, the raking of the sand. It's like, a meditation practice, and it had me thinking, like, why can't that just be when we do the dishes then? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think we've just got this. It depends what we've seen as well. I definitely grew up seeing housework as resented work. And so I think there's, a mind shift change that can happen. But also, if you're sitting at the dishes thinking about all the things that you should have done, didn't do well enough, of course it's going to be a crappy experience that you don't want to do. But if you're sitting there taking a moment to be like, I'm really proud of myself that, I fed myself a nourishing breakfast this morning. That wasn't easy. And there was a crying child and I was tired. That wasn't easy, but I did it, and well done to myself. If you're taking those moments to speak nice words into yourself, I think that that is such a powerful place to start. And then, what am I grateful for myself? What did I do that I'm grateful for? I put on the earrings. Gosh, I'm grateful for that. Or I did the washing, and that means now I'm wearing my favorite dress. Or what I think that being thankful towards yourself is the most powerful place to start. Yeah.
And would you say this circles right back around to that inner child work?
Yeah. I do think sometimes though, when you're in that tired, heavy postpartum stage, sometimes I don't think the energy is there all the times to work on where all the wounds originated from. If there's things that are coming up that are are triggering, or you're really in it, things are really hard. Sometimes I don't think there's the place to start is always the delving into where the wounds came from, unless the space is there and the support is there, or you've got access to help if need be. Otherwise, I think it's kind of again just putting that to the side for the time being. Jotting it down if you need to, or just like, okay, now's not the time to delve into that. I'll put that to the side.
Yes, I think work right is the wrong word. I think I more mean recognizing that there's a place where it comes from, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you need? Yeah. Like, what do you need, my inner child? What do you need right now? And is that just is that a hug from a friend? Is that a phone call with someone? Is that a warm drink on the couch in your jammies? What can I give you? Is that putting a picture that you draw with your child on the fridge? Like your own picture on the fridge. Put it on the fridge. The one that you draw with your child, put it on. And just, what can I do for myself right now, for that inner child? What can I do for that little girl right now?
Yeah. That's really beautiful. And I think and I hope that it resonates with a lot of people who are in that space and find that really difficult. And I think you're right. One of the best ways to start is just having that self-compassion and starting to work on that.
Gentleness with yourself. Yeah.
And a favorite mug doesn't hurt. I think,
oh my gosh,
if you can surround yourself with a few little things that spark joy for you, because sometimes we got to, somewhat fake it till we make it, because if we're in that space where we can't,
the flowers.
If we're in a space where we can't, like, that self-compassion is feeling really difficult, and we're like, that's not even in my realm. Like, I can't even conceptualize what that even, like, how could I have compassion for myself if I'm feeling gross, or I'm feeling like negative about myself? I've always loved, like, having something, like, for me, I love mugs. So, if I can just have a beautiful mug
and flowers,
that makes me feel good. Even if you pick them on the side of the road, it doesn't even have to be.
No, my gosh, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be big.
Some of my favorite mugs have been from an op shop. Yeah,
totally. Absolutely.
Little things around the house. I love that. I totally agree.
Yourself a nice broom. If you need to get yourself a nice broom,
okay.
I'm big on that. Like, I think I'm so programmed for practical, and that's kind of the way I was raised to an extent. Is like, don't be silly. Like, just buy the broom that's the most practical. But actually, I just recently, on our recent trip to Canada last year, because my husband's Canadian, so that's why we travel back and forth.
Went home for him.
And there's a broom store on Granville Island in Vancouver.
Okay,
and
a whole
they
store
make
for
brooms. Oh yeah, they make them by hand. It's amazing. I can send you the page. But they do have trouble getting them back into Australia. So we thought, okay, let's start, because we've wanted one for so many years. We actually wanted to get one for our wedding broom. And then it didn't quite.
So what's why is it, like, what's the significance?
Well, it depends. That's more of a spiritual thing. So we had like a hand fasting, like Celtic pagan hand fasting inspired ceremony. And then there's a tradition where you jump the broom after you get married, and it's like symbolizing jumping into your next life together. and we
Okay.
have some really fun photos of us jumping the broom. And so this is kind of this is slightly off topic, but we wanted
Yeah.
to bring one of those brooms back, and they're expensive, and
Okay.
the thought of getting destroyed in
Bringing the
customs
broom.
was kind
Yeah,
of
of
like,
course.
whoa.
Yeah.
So actually on the day, a bunch of our friends went and foraged stuff off the land that we were getting married on and made a broom. Some of
Oh,
the guys made a wedding broom for us, which we still
I
have.
love that.
And it was so much more special, actually. It was totally just a beautiful experience. And
Yes.
it was a surprise because we didn't know that they were doing that, but just some of the guys, including our photographer's boyfriend, went and just like
I love
made
that.
this broom. It was so fun. And so I'll send you the photos because they're pretty
Yeah.
epic. But my husband has some enthusiasm. I'll put it that way. But it's been on our hearts forever that we want one of these brooms. And Vancouver has a lot of significance to me. I grew up. My mum is like really good friends with her pen pal from like primary school.
Oh, I
They
love
set them
that.
up with these like international pen pals, and so I've grown up visiting them there, and I have ties to
Yeah.
Canada outside of my
That's
marriage. And
so
so
cool.
we ended up bringing back a mini one, and it's like called a whisk broom, and it's like a mini whisk. It's about this big, and it kind of looks like a fan, and then a beautiful handcrafted wooden dustpan, and that's what I dusted. And my mum saw it, and
I
I
love
know
it.
she went, "Oh, Hannah," and I feel like that's my
Well,
whole
look who's
family. They're like,
enjoying
"Oh,
dusting though
Hannah."
right now.
I know. Every time I
Yeah.
pull that thing out, I'm like, oh yeah, I get to use
Yeah.
my cool
Put
dust
on a
hand.
favorite tune, dust with a cool duster.
And my baby loves it too. He's like, oh, this one's fun. And so I think like if you can bring in those things, it may seem silly, but if you
Yeah.
can release the like
Mm,
that attachment to the word silly, or in a negative way,
true.
and just go, I'm just
Yes.
gonna actually cultivate pleasure. I'm
Yeah.
just here to cultivate
Yes.
pleasure
Yeah.
wherever I can,
And
even
worthy
if
of
it feels
pleasure.
shitty and even if it
Yeah.
feels hard.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's, I find that can be helpful if you can't bring yourself to
Yes.
have that like best friendship
Yeah.
with
That
yourself just yet.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I would love to share with people how they can get in touch with you, because I know you've got some projects on the horizon. And first of all, tell us
Mm.
about that. So you've got an event coming up. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm, just kind of popping on my wings outside of motherhood, only just now, since having Lily. So I'm getting back into some gigs, I'm singing at some events and things. It's just feeling really exciting. And I'm stepping in. So, yeah, I was doing the workshops and things with teens and preteens and children, and now I want to work more with women. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's some projects that are literally on, that are about to be birthed into the world. So
Exciting.
yeah, we're going to run a women's high tea event, pretty much talking about um, just all of this, and have different speakers. So it's all kind of in the making. Doing a few different things that I have than I have before. So I don't really have a place to set. My Instagram is probably where it will show up first,
Mm-hmm.
where I will be sharing the links to different things and so on. Um, and that's really it for now. I'm kind of still in this bubble of bringing the things on my mind into fruition. So yeah, it kind of feels like the beginning all over again. But yeah, in a different way.
Mm-hmm. A new
Each
era
time
of
I've
birth.
yeah, each time after the children, uh, I've done something that feels like I'm kind of coming back out into the world, um, with what I have to offer to the world. And yeah, so it's been different every time.
Yeah,
So
well, that sounds
yeah,
beautiful, and that will be local to you, right? So it's New South
yeah,
Wales.
yes, yeah, New South Wales. Eventually, there is things that I will travel with. there's probably watch this space is the quote
absolutely.
to go with that.
And your Instagram is, I think, your name, but I'm going to share that. So I'll put the link to your Instagram in the show notes so everybody can
Thank
really
you.
easily find you on there.
Yes.
And I enjoy your stories. I always love, you're one of the people that I thoroughly enjoy and wait to see your stories for the day. So
yeah, well, at the moment it is very, children's songs and children activities, ideas and craft ideas, which, it probably will expand a little bit on that now that I've discovered we're really doing Steiner-based things. So it'll probably be Steiner-based inspired now. But then, it very much a watch this space time.
Yeah, and I think you've got so much to offer, so I'm very excited to see where you take it, and really looking forward to opportunities for people, especially in person. I think as much as I also love like an online event, because for me that, is easy for or easier with a baby, not always easy, but easier. Or, if someone is out of state from me, it makes it a little bit more useful to enjoy that. But you cannot remove the I guess experience of having that in-person face-to-face contact and building a community in that way. So I think that is something we need to see definitely more of continuing, especially in spaces with women, is really offering those opportunities, because it's very easy to say find a community, but sometimes that's not always easy.
Where do you
especially of like-minded people.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes that does require to travel, especially, rural areas where we are. We're not so away from everything like some farming communities are, but sometimes you have to, travel an hour and a half to get to a like-minded event, but it's so worth it. Worth it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing some of your wisdom with us today, and I guess speaking into motherhood a little bit and sharing some beautiful tips and tools and things people can add to their toolbox for, I guess, their motherhood journey, and especially in times where maybe it doesn't feel it doesn't feel easy or it doesn't feel positive. I hope that this helps people to really reconnect with their inner selves and be able to allow that to flow out into their families, because it can start within you and have such a beautiful effect on the people around you. So thank you again, so and I look forward to chatting with you more another time and seeing all of these beautiful creative ideas that are kind of come to fruition hopefully soon. And thank you. Just thank you. And
thank you
I just wanted
so
to say,
much.
I usually would end here, but I just wanted a note, just your mindfulness that you have when you speak. I hope that this episode was nice and calming to listen to for people as well, because I definitely run at a faster pace and I can be a little bubbly, but it's nice to have somebody on who has that Zen quality. So thank you for that as well.
It's actually really funny because just quickly, when people haven't spent a lot of time around me and they say to Xavier, my son, or to Ned, she's so peaceful and so calm, but we giggle to ourselves because they're like, they haven't seen, they haven't heard my stern voice. They haven't seen when I get cranky, or they haven't seen when I'm in my wild mood. But, again, like the all the complexities of being human, and we don't need to stay in one box, and embracing the chaos of the life and the peace of our life, and that it comes in such waves, and I feel like I'm all the things. I'm all of the things. So thank you so much for enjoying the Zen part of me.
Absolutely, I'll enjoy all parts, but I do think it's nice for people to have like a more. It's definitely walking your talk with the mindfulness as you speak and the thoughtfulness you put into everything you say. So, I appreciate that, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Me too. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Natasha.
Bye.